Testing. Hey, Mr. Waffles, how's it going? Yeah, glad you can make it. My earlier stream was only an hour long, so no worries on that. Glad to hear you good. I'm doing well. We're going to be cranking on some HTML and CSS shortly. Doing some research for a website. What kind of research? What kind of website? Interesting. Cool. Ooh, Nuxt. That's cool. I've been wanting to play with Next, which is different than Nuxt. We're going to get started here soon. I'm just doing some preparation. Hey, Jay. How's it going? Glad you can make it. I love that that emote. Vinny Code, how's it going? I saw you joined Party Corgi Discord earlier. Welcome. That's the that Chef Brent emote? Yes. Chef Brent Baby Yoda. Love to see it. Oh, good. You're here now. It's a great place to be. There is a lot of info and it is hard to keep up. That is true. It can be overwhelming. When it was smaller, I was able to kind of read every message. That is no more. All right. I think everything is just about ready, so I'm going to switch over to the main scene. Okay. Tidy up just a bit. All right, so this morning we installed HiGen for quick and easy component scaffolding. And I know some of y'all were not here for the morning stream, so we can demonstrate that real quick. How many projects am I working on? Too many. Way too many. A lot. So yeah, we can make new components now simply by typing NC, which stands for new component, and then the component name. Let me just make sure we do have some stuff here. One moment. We're going to add and then commit. Okay, so NC and then my component. And boom, we have a new component scaffolded for us by HiGen. So it added a new file inside a directory that we named. We chose this name here. It's also injecting into our components index and creating a styles file in that same directory. Super easy to get a component up and running. We're going to be making use of this heavily as we dive into turning this design into code. So that's what we did this morning, install HiGen. Next, I guess before we get started on cranking on styling, I do need to set up this package. So I'm going to link this. There's really no reason anyone would want to use this unless you work at the company. But there's some cool tidbits about this package, mainly that it is hosted on the GitHub package registry. And there's some special things you have to do to use the GitHub package registry, especially in parallel with the normal NPM package registry. So I do have some of those setup instructions detailed here. I guess that could be interesting to folks, but you probably never use this package. So what we need to do is create an npm rc file, and I actually already kind of got started on this before going live for this afternoon stream. Essentially, you just create a npm rc, and then we need to tell npm that, hey, this package namespace is in a different registry, and that registry is the GitHub package registry. Another thing you need to do is make sure you are authenticated with the GitHub package registry, and I've already done that locally, so I'm not going to go through that here. There's instructions in this README. I can also just paste these instructions in chat. But this is important both locally, but then also in your Circle CI. You need a personal access token, and we can look at how I'm doing that. So in my Circle CI config, one of my steps is to write the GitHub personal access token, which I created on my GitHub account and set as an environment variable in my CI config. So we're writing that this auth token line to our npm-rc file, and this lets us install packages and authenticate with the GitHub package registry in our CI environment. So that's all good to go. I've installed the package, which we can see here, All Turtles components. And this is just a very tiny npm module with some convenient reusable components like the terms of service and the All Turtles logo, some colors, etc. So we'll probably make some use of that, or maybe we could start there by making use of that in our hero. All right, back to the to-do. So we can check off this. We've installed the All Turtles npm module from the GitHub package registry. I do think there is content possibility around this. You know, not many people are using the GitHub package registry. I do really like how easy it is, especially for private npm modules. However, there is that, you know, extra layer of authentication that makes it not as nice as I'd like. So I think we can start cranking on some styling. Let's get rid of this test component. And let's check out a new branch. We'll just call it content for now. Very vague, but that's okay. Okay, so we've got it running locally. Get rid of all this. Here's a staging site. Here's a local site. Let's take a look at our design. All right, so we've got this hero, and then we've got, this will just be one component. You can zoom in a little. These are pretty much all the same. There might be some like positioning things. Other than that, it's just same pattern over and over again. We've got a main color, we got this secondary color, some text, an image. And each case study just follows the same pattern. This morning we actually made this component. It's not doing anything right now. Libertati FN, pumping out the content, love it. Thank you for the sub. Appreciate that. So we're rendering the case study card here for each of our case studies. And this is based on our file system, our MDX file system. So what we need to do now is start flowing that content, flowing that data in and styling it. So let's dig in. All right, so here is our case study card component. I am used to working on a much larger monitor. So we're gonna figure it out as we go. We're just gonna look at one of these for an example. This one seems good. All right, so we're gonna have a title. And we have a description. We've got an arrow. And this arrow is a link. Actually, I bet this whole thing should link, so we can leave that out for now. We've also got an image. And we can set the source on this. Let's wrap this up. In a div. So s.text wrap. Cool. And then we need to worry about these bands, these color bands. My first instinct here is rectangles that are rotated. So something like this, and then this is just kind of sitting like that. And then the edges, maybe are off the screen. So maybe we make the width of this rectangle, 120 VW or something. So that like the edge of the screen, if we imagine the screen being like here, you can differentiate this color like this. So like this darker box is the screen, and then here we have our rotated rectangle, which could just be a div or maybe a pseudo element, a before or after pseudo element. There might be a better way with like masking, or Jay is recommending a linear gradient with an angle. Could you elaborate on that a little bit more? So the rectangle would not be rotated, and the gradient would be rotated. Linear gradient with an angle. But then like, how would we do the rest? Transparent, red, transparent. So transparent, red, transparent. Let's bring this to red as well. Hey, Chris, how's it going? Glad you could join us, Chris. Cranking out some full-time work on stream today, while also taking notes on potential content ideas. Try to leave this to-do open all the time. So yeah, just to catch you up a little bit. Yesterday, I worked in Circle CI contexts for a more, or I should say drier Circle CI config, which is pretty cool. I think there's a blog post and or screencast in there. HiGen, just like how I set up HiGen for a simple functional component. This is what we did on my morning stream. There's like an hour and 15 morning stream. And then I'm using a package hosted on the GitHub package registry, a package I wrote. So I think there's another blog post in here. I have a half-written post about that. I think I remember you doing like a HiGen and plop kind of comparison. But yeah, I don't know that I want to even talk about plop anymore. I just feel like HiGen is more powerful and easier to use. But I still use plop on older projects. Yeah, I have been cranking lately. Partly because of necessity and partly because of self-imposed stressors, I guess. I really wanted to stream the All Turtles website build and kind of mix the content creation and full-time work. And there's a strict deadline of a week from yesterday to get this up and running. So that translates to me streaming pretty much every day for this week at least. Not every project is going to be streamable. This one is special because it's internal work. It's pretty much all open source anyway, because it's just a front-end website. Hey, Tables, thanks for the sub. Hey, Ryan, sorry I missed the morning stream. How's the project come along? No worries. It was a nice short stream. We did do HiGen, though. I know you were interested in HiGen, so you might want to check the VOD on that or wait for me to pump out a blog post. The blog post might be a week out, though. So we've got most of the scaffolding all set up. We have MDX in our content directory, content/case studies, and each time I add a case study, it's already being looped through in a map and rendered on the screen. So really we're just down to cranking content, structure, and style, which might not be the most interesting thing, but I'm happy to be derailed and hang out and chat along the way. So I was talking through with Jay around how we might pull off this effect here. It's still not entirely clear to me how I would use a background gradient. I think as a first iteration, and to just not get blocked, I might just go with my very simple rotate a div and make the div wider than the screen with the overflow hidden. Best way is clip. Give me 1 minute. Cool. Well, I'm going to leave this here and just kind of get started on other things. So we're leaving our to-do open with our content ideas, and here's kind of where I left off with some structure. I tend to start with the structure before some of these style components even exist, and then I'll open up two tabs here, which is really hard on a small resolution. Chat might have to fly off to the side for a minute. And then from here, I'll open the styles file right alongside my component and just kind of crank some of these out. So we've got our image, which is going to be an image tag. Text wrap is going to be a div. Our title will probably be h2. And then description, which is just going to be a standard paragraph. And then lastly, our styled arrow. And this is going to come from our components, our icon components. So we're going to need to import arrow from icons/arrow. And that's going to be a default import, not a named. So now this should render, but we probably won't see anything. Yeah, and we don't. And that's because none of these variables are defined, and we also don't have any styles on any of this. It looks like it is actually erroring out as a result, and that's totally fine. So let's define these variables. So they're going to come in from props. So image, title, description. There'll probably be more that we will add to at some point, but hopefully this renders now. Cool. CodePen link. Let's go. So I think it's the green one. The green one that I'm going to be wanting here. Oh, I love Pug. There's actually a there's a JSX Pug. I don't know what the word is. Transpiler. I tried it out. It's a Babel plugin. There was some reason I didn't like it. It couldn't handle certain things. I don't know. I probably should have written a blog post on it when I was when my head was in it. But yeah, I don't like writing closing tags or opening brackets. Anyways, so Clipped, I think, yeah, background green. Clip path. So is this actually better than rotating, or is it just different? I'm also curious on the browser support. Wanted to counter rotate the content. Well, I see what you're saying. However, I would probably absolutely position these rotated rectangles so they wouldn't really affect the content anyways, if that makes sense. So I'd have like a wrapper div, something like this, and then absolutely position with overflow visible both rectangles. I don't know. You can use clip where clip path fails. Is clip much different than clip path? Older syntax, I assume it does, kind of similar things, just with different wording. All right. Probably going to save this for a bit later. Not sure if we'll get to it today. I really appreciate this pen. I'm actually going to add this to my notes right in the project. Cool. Either option will work fine. All right. Cool. Maybe I'll try both. Depends how much time we have. All right, so we're rendering. I do see some extra Twitter icons. I think that's because the arrow SVG is not the right SVG. So let's grab the right SVG. I guess we should probably optimize it. Should probably add this to my notes too. That's interesting. Wasn't this UI on the right side yesterday? Is this the same thing? Huh. Oh, now it's on the right side. Okay. That makes more sense. All right, we'll zoom on in. Go for the 2. I think this is the last SVG we need to do. And thank goodness, because it's not fun. Okay, got the arrow. Let's see if that's fixed. There we go. Arrows are rendering. Hey John, MDN has a more detailed compatibility chart for clip path. Cool, let's check it out. Add this to my notes as well. My mic arm just gets in the way of my vision, so I have to adjust it a lot. Cool. I skimmed it. I know I didn't do a great job reading it, but we will come back to this. Jay, do you work on GreenSock? And if so, is that open source work, free work? Were you hired by them? I saw your tweet earlier about the scroll animations, which I'm actually really interested in. Just to get sidetracked a little bit, this animation was not fun. It may look simple, and maybe it is to some of y'all. But yeah, I had a bunch of issues pursuing this. I'm curious if the GreenSock stuff could help me out. I couldn't find any like library, so this is all by hand. Animating based on scroll position, adjusting the translate X and translate Y. It actually doesn't perform perfectly on mobile. So I'm not sure if that's something I'm doing, if that's something that, like, should I be using Canvas here instead? But yeah, there's like a lot going on here. I'm animating a gradient, a background gradient, animating, or I should say adjusting translate Y based on scroll position at different intervals or different rates. And then at the same time, like the main scroll bar is still like unaffected. And then once you reach the bottom here, I'm changing position fixed to position absolute, so things scroll away. And we can go to the rest of the site. But this took me like, I want to say like 16 hours. And like I did it once, threw it away. Did it again, threw it away. A few lines of code. And is this GreenSock as it stands, or is this the new feature, the new plugin? One trick for doing the gradient between CSS variables, your entire implementation would be a handful of lines to do that. I'm animating or changing background position based on scroll position at the moment. That project is shipped and done, and no longer getting paid to work on it. But I feel like just having that in the bag as like a trick in my pocket of tricks would be nice. Yeah, you can map values to scroll position based on custom start endpoints. Cool. And my question Ryan's Pocket of Tricks Egghead Collection. We're writing that one down. I believe animating anything other than transform and opacity can have performance issues in CSS. Yes, especially on mobile. Although I think, oh yeah, I am animating background position. So that's probably why it feels a little bit laggy, because it's not using hardware acceleration, right? I suppose this should be in content ideas, not notes. Wish I could like float the chat on top somehow. Greensock does a bunch of performance stuff under the hood. Yeah. And like that's the stuff that I've looked into when I was a youngin'. And I don't remember it, and I don't care to remember it. I think Egghead just tweeted at me. Focus on the fun stuff, exactly. And performance is important, don't get me wrong. But I think I have like a high enough level understanding. They Twitter you for all the video ships? Oh, okay. Well, that's less fun. So you must have been getting tweeted at like 10 times a day, like a couple months ago. Hit retweet. Oh yeah, you're right. Let's retweet that. Actually, I'm going to get a bunch more because we shipped this morning. Egghead.io/instructors. These are live now. I'm just not talking about it because I kind of want a few more ScreenFlow lessons. And then I want to do like a tweet thread that kind of summarizes why is this video important? Why would you want annotations? Why would you want to zoom in and zoom out? Yes, displaying keystrokes, that's a spoiler. This one's not live. Still waiting for Zach to review. But yeah, if you're interested in learning ScreenFlow, there's a couple things there. These tweets will probably be coming in a few days, and then I think I have like 2 more ideas for ScreenFlow, and then I'll make my first collection and tweet that out in a thread. Surprisingly, my first collection is probably not going to be Figma. I think the ScreenFlow stuff is just coming quickly and easily. So maybe I'll just crank through it. I don't have to like really think about prior knowledge or how it's going to feel cohesive. So I'm just going for it. I think the Figma collection will come shortly thereafter. Cool. So back to the not as fun stuff. That is HTML and CSS. So I'd love to get this data flowing in. Right now it's all just undefined. So each case study is going to have a title. I think the description could go here too. Maybe the image. But then we need to look at the case study detail. And like maybe that's what this is. The actual body of the MDX file is the case study detail page. Let's bring up the design. So this is like our index. I can kind of think of this as like my blog index or like the latest articles or something. And then clicking into each one, we go to these detail pages. And because of the way these are laid out, I feel like there's going to need to be a lot of custom components. It's not going to just be writing MDX. Especially as we get into the ones that are going to have this the more complex one. I feel like these are going to need to be components in the MDX. And like this could just be plain markdown. I don't know. It's tough. I guess all of these are following the same like max width. There's no real like long form writing. That is when I'd be keen to see loving Figma. Me too. I have been loving Figma more and more. I've got tons of ideas. I think that's what's making the Figma collection hard, is that there's just so much. Like I think I could have a collection on just auto layout. I could have a collection on just organizing pages, on constraints, on using constraints with auto layout together. I don't know if I haven't really talked about Figma Mirror very much, but you can get Figma Mirror on your phone. Let's see if I can bring it up. And it just like live updates your design. It looks like I'm not logged in, but you can kind of see it there. So you can like look at your design on your phone while you're designing. You know, making your browser shrink only does so much for making it look real. It's a good problem, but it's still a problem. But I hear what you're saying. So I didn't really know where to start. Like, do I start with, I've never opened Figma before in my life or used any design tool before in my life? So like, how do we draw a rectangle and type text and then work up from there? Or do I just dive in? And exactly, it doesn't matter where I start. I really just need to pick a place and go. So that's what I'm going to do. And backfill, exactly. Also, I was getting overwhelmed with how does this all fit into a course? Am I going to have multiple collections that culminate in a course? Are the lessons going to be completely new? But I really just need to not think about that and just crank out a collection on something. Especially as I'm in this onboarding phase. Like, get through my 12 lessons, get through my first, maybe second collection, and like prove to Zach and them that I'm here for real. I'm ready to do this. And then go through like the core stuff, the workshop stuff, the planning, all that, and come at that later. I was thinking a lot about that with regards to serverless and Jamstack stuff. Yeah, that's a huge category, right? Like, where do you start? What knowledge do you assume? Do you assume that they are, in coding boot camp, or do you assume that they are 4 years on the job and just learning Jamstack for the first time, but already know how to code? So much to think about. Table says, yep, we just got to get through and then we can do some real stuff. Yeah. I mean, I think what we're doing now is real. It's just not as substantial or planned. I thought I was already scoped down my first Docker collection. I was wrong. True. Your original Docker collection proposal was a little too broad, I think. But I'm very glad to hear that you got it scoped down. Have you done like a 101, creating a button component and dropping it into a page design? No, not on Egghead anyways. I have done that on Stream, which is, I guess, kind of temporary and hard to find. I think I did on Learn with Jason, yeah. Yeah, and Zach is a treasure. He is a very good person to talk to about things. Smart guy. Does his brother work for Egghead too, Ian? Curious what he does. Convert that to a course and the people will flock? Yes. Are you talking about Learn with Jason? Yes. Jason told me I need to write blog posts on the stuff we covered on Learn with Jason. And he's right, I do. It's a lot to think about. I think that's probably the thing I'm most excited about, is writing that, like maybe a series of blog posts on all the stuff we covered on that episode. It also yield some high value, especially if I turn that into egghead courses and embedded them in the blog post. Whoa. That's what my first collection should be. Mind blown. Yes. Yes, but we need to crank out this site. So we're going to write this down. So first Figma collection should be on the topics covered on Learn with Jason. And then we need to embed these egghead videos in blog written format on my site. And then tweet it. Super exciting. Cannot wait to get to that. All right, back to content ranking. So these longer form case studies, I think this could just, we should mock it up. Like this doesn't have to compile yet. That's okay. So we've got this like header area that has a title and a description. Are these the same description that's here? No, it's different. So there's like a long description and a short description. I wish my mic arm came from like, I don't know. My right eye vision is blocked. We've got an image. This image will be easy. These will also, well, no, this is probably going to stack on mobile. Do we even have mobile designs for this? No, we don't. Over the shoulder boom out. Yeah. And how about like attached to a backpack or something? It's just coming out of my back. So yeah, these are probably stack, meaning this would be like 3 images potentially. Hey Veronica, I've put my mic in the middle between my 2 monitors. That's smart. Not sure I can really do that. John, with the gifted subs, thank you so much. 5 gifted subs, thanks a ton. That's huge. I really appreciate it. Jacob, I see you lurking. Tony, I see you lurking. You've been exposed by John. Let's go. All right. I should probably trigger some of these for subs and follows and whatnot. See, we've got Toe Jam and Earl I'm seeing. I can't hear it, so I'm just looking at my stream on the left. Thanks, John. I really appreciate that. Here we go. Streets of Rage for Jacob. Oh, yeah. So this is an easy image. Can people even hear me over top of the sound? I can't tell. All right, I think we're done. This is also an image, but are these going to... we just don't know how this is all going to work. Is this one image or is this 30? So I'm curious, like how, oh, it is still going. Toe Jam's dancing again. Earl's dancing again. They're breaking it down. Is MDX really like the best format here? It's just going to be like component after component and not really much markdown. Like, would a JSON structure be better here? I haven't worked with Sanity or any other headless CMS before, but I have a feeling that's going to come in closer to a JSON object in terms of shape and type. Interesting problem. It's not really like long form text with a component and an image mixed in here and there. It's really like components with some text mixed in here and there. Let's just pseudocode it and see what happens. So we'd have like the header component, right? And then this would have a title. And it'd have a description. Right. To escape some of this. And that'd be followed by an image. So that would be easy. You could just use Markdown for that. And then here, like this isn't a standard like H2, right? I suppose it could be. Like we could use MDX components, like the overrides, to make our H2s always look like that. So like this is a caps title. Christian, what's up? How are you doing today? Then here we just have some easy plain text. And then this is potentially 3 images, but they're treated special because they are, I don't know, flexed here. And then potentially not flexed on mobile. Maybe they're stacked on mobile in a column. So we can't just do 3 images necessarily like this. Like we might have to do phone images. And this might take an array of URLs. All right. So this one's easy. This is just an image. And got some more text. And again, this can just be a H2. And this can just be a paragraph, easy. This might also need to be an array, a very long array, depending on how this works responsively. Is it just shrinking? Or is this like a grid layout where things are rearranging and potentially we only show half of them on mobile? Without the mobile design, it's really hard to know what's in the designer's head. So this would be like icon images, and we can just leave this example array as is. Okay, then we've got this like full bleed image. This is gonna have like different treatment than the standard image, which would mean another component. Can I ask why you start by creating a markdown? Is it like a plan or something? Yes and yes. Or yes and no. So So this is an MDX powered Gatsby site, meaning each MDX file maps to a unique URL, kind of like a MDX powered blog. We can see an example of that. Let's look at an example. I'll just comment this out for now. Can you comment out here? Yes, you can. So we have two case studies, which are markdown files or MDX files living in our file structure. Case study and another case study. These are being rendered on our index, our home page. When I click on them, we go to the slug that is generated based on the file path. So we have a folder in our directory structure called case studies. We can see that right here. And then we have a file name called another case study.mdx. So that's where this is coming from. Now I could make another file here, new file, third case, or let's just use a real name. Let's call it carrot, or carrot fertility. And we'll write some markdown in here. So carrot, hello from the carrot MDX file. Save that. And well, we do need some front matter. We saw it rendering. There's just no text yet, so we'll give it a title. We set this up previously on a previous stream, but now you can see carrot is here. We can click on this and we go to carrot fertility, and here we are rendering our markdown. So yeah, if you want to learn more, definitely check out the official MDX repo. I'm not sure if you're familiar with Gatsby or care about Gatsby, but I did write a tutorial, create an MDX powered Gatsby site from scratch that goes through how to set up everything we just did step by step. I'm not the first person and probably not the last person to write a tutorial on how to do this, but it is pretty simple. I probably shouldn't say it is pretty simple, but the tutorial is not very long, especially if you come from experience with React previously or experience with Gatsby previously. So this walks through everything, all the setup needed. New to the JS stuff. Yeah, that's exactly why I shouldn't be using the word simple, because it's definitely not simple for everyone, right? Yeah, definitely a lot of frameworks to look at. If I'm going to give any advice for you there, it would be just pick one. It doesn't really matter which one. Pick one and learn it. A lot of the high-level concepts between the modern frameworks are very similar. I'd probably say not Elm and maybe not necessarily Svelte, but those would be fine too. I picked React mainly because of its popularity and how easy it is to get a job with it. I came from the Angular world prior to that. And a lot of the concepts from Angular translated over to React. Very high level concepts. Yeah, that being said, this article, you can kind of blindly follow it, even if you don't understand what exactly is going on. Like if you're familiar with the terminal, you can get an MDX Gatsby site up and running locally. And yeah, there's plenty of other good tutorials out there besides mine. So back to your question. I'm kind of second guessing if MDX is the right solution for the way I want to build this site. just because MDX is really great for authoring written content and looking at the design, there's more images than there is words. And these are not just your standard image. They have some more complex styling and potentially interactivity, which means we can use components just like this right in our MDX. But is that the best solution over like a JSON object or a JavaScript object where we do something like this? And like if it has this key where you render this component in this order every time for every case study. I'm not really sure on the answer to that, and maybe once I start thinking about a headless CMS, I might change my mind or backtrack on some of this. I think for now, having done this like example on what it potentially will look like, I think I'm okay moving forward. So that's what I'm going to do. So this is going to crash our site at the moment just because these components don't exist or are not being imported. So that's why I'm just going to comment it out. MDN also has a series on all of the major frameworks coming out soon. Wow, that's cool. That's really cool. I did not know that. Is there like an announcement article or something you could potentially link people? Not yet. Cool. How did you find out about it? Excuse me while I chug some coffee. You wrote one of the articles? Hell yeah. Okay, that leads me to another question. How did you come to write one of the articles for MDN? Where does one even begin to get that kind of gig? Is it a paid gig? Headless CMS should work fine with component structure as well. So do some of these headless CMSs support MDX? Or how does that work? What is it going to be like to author these case studies in headless CMS? It is paid. A friend knew that you knew. Accessibility and view. That friend works at MDN or knows somebody there. That's awesome though, regardless. That's really cool. MDX is a string, so it would work, but you won't get any special component support. Cool. So I could essentially copy and paste this MDX over to Sanity or whatever headless CMS I choose. That's on the content production queue. Is it? Circle C, HiGen. No, it's not. It's supposed to be. Once you get in the groove of content production and like have a decent process, it's kind of wild how much content there is, how much potential content you could create out of something like a simple Gatsby site. Like this site, yes, it's very well designed, and maybe that makes it look more complex than it is. But like high level, there's not much going on here, right? There's no authentication. There's no complex interactions or animation. It's just reading from a file directory. We're not talking to a database. We might talk to a database for the CMS stuff later. That'll be a phase 2 rollout. My point being, look at all of this content ideas. Each of these is at least a blog post and a screencast, at least one per bullet point, potentially 2, 3, 4. This one is kind of doesn't really count because this is like infinite. Same with this, but yeah, there's a lot. The hard work part is the secret. Yeah, definitely a lot of hard work. I haven't played Fortnite in like 48 hours. It feels bad. I think today is the day that changes though. Yeah. This is super off topic, but I kind of want to just check the store and see what's up. Jaunty's back. Oh no. All right. I think there's nothing I need to sprint to buy. I better close out of this before I end the stream and play Fortnite. I do need to make some progress. I do feel good having kind of thought this out and gut checked it. Yes. Gut checked it with y'all that this is like a decent plan for managing the content on this site. So that's cool. So I think the index page, we can store all of that data in the front matter because it's just title, short description, image. I guess some colors too. Some color values that can all come from front matter. And then the case study detail can live in components. That is feeling good to me. So let's do it. Title, description, image. We're also going to have color and secondary color. We can probably rename this too. Let's make it something real. Let's go with vitally. We've already got carrot. We can even start to bring out some of this content. I guess we don't really need quotes, do we? Let's grab the color. Go to the code tab. Grab that X value. Maybe we do need quotes here, just to be safe. And then the secondary color. Oh, it looks like this is just opacity. Is it always 20%? It is. Okay, so we don't need secondary color. That's nice. We do need an image path. For now, that's just going to be vitally.png. Figure that out later. Okay, so we've got all of our front matter for vitally and kind of scaffolded what the front matter for each case study is going to look like. Now that we have one, I'm going to go ahead and render this in the index. So we have our query here. Right now we're only querying for title, but we need to add the rest of our data. So that's going to be description, image, and color. So all of that data will now be flowing in to this index component through the data prop. You can see we are logging that out here from yesterday. I'm going to remove that for now. We don't need that anymore. So this case study card is currently not getting any of this. So what I'm going to do, I guess we'll just spread this for now. Like this. So we're just going to have all the front matter. We also need the slug so we know where to link to. I guess that can come from this wrapper. It's outside the case study card component itself. So that's awesome. So now this should be coming through. We do need to add color. Not doing anything yet with color, but we will be. So let's check and see what's going on here. We might need to restart our server. Nope. Cool. We've got the title. We've got the description. It's even trying to render an image, but obviously that doesn't exist yet. We are going to need to order. I'm going to add that to the to-do because I'm not going to do it now. We need to deal with the ordering of the case studies. The order is definitely very specific. The designers and content people want to be able to change the order here, so it's not going to be based on date or alphabetical. It's going to be a hand-picked order that even as new projects come in, Carrot might still be the first, or maybe not the first. They're going to be able to choose it. So maybe we need like an order integer here. But then we'd also need to account for that in our GraphQL query. And there is some way to do that. We're going to come back to that later. So before we do that, I'm going to grab all of this front matter and give it to our three case study MDX files. So we've got Vitally, we've got Carrot, and then we still have another placeholder here. Let's see, tell us. That's going to be our third. I'm just going to start filling out some of this front matter. Grab the hex value. And this is going to be the third in the order. Ben, how's it going? How are you doing today, Ben? I miss our morning Discord chats with Prince before everyone wakes up. It's been a few days since I've been able to join you. Okay, so now on our index, we're seeing all of this data rendering, and our links are still working. Awesome. This feels like a good time to commit. I do have a staging link here. CI/CD is already hooked up. I haven't deployed in a bit. Maybe now is a good time to deploy. Feels like a decent sized PR. Could definitely be bigger. We're going to pull requests into the staging branch. I have Circle CI hooked up to deploy to the stage.subdomain when any change gets pushed to the staging branch. So this is the initial content for case studies. Been an interesting day. That said, halfway through the week, so have to look at the pros. Do you care to elaborate any more on that? What makes it interesting? So before I merge, I do like to just, especially since I'm the only developer, self-review. So for those of you tuning in recently, we set up an npm rc file because this package here is coming from the GitHub package registry. So we need to tell npm, hey, this namespace, this @allturtles namespace. Now we're not looking in the standard default registry, we're looking in the GitHub package registry. So npm rc lets you do that. This is kind of just me predicting or knowing what I'm going to need. I haven't actually used anything from this package yet. That'll be there soon. Got some J Lang's love in here. There's my J Lang's emotes. Apparently I got a gifted sub to Tfue, so that's interesting. Lots of Patrick. There we are. So we've got our styled components here with no actual styling, but we can come back to that. We updated our arrow SVG and then the stuff we were just working on. I'm going to leave this in here, especially since this is in development. I'm going to leave this comment in here because we're going to come back to it relatively soon. Cool. I think this is mergeable. We'll keep that branch around for now. I'm going to keep pushing to it, and I'll do another PR. One thing I like to do is screenshot, just like documentation on progress, and like somebody who maybe is not actively working on it can easily see what the heck is going on, especially if they're not a developer. So we'll add that on. How do I see how long I've been live? Look at that llama. Where'd you get that llama? Are these just free with Twitch? 1 hour, 17 minutes. Okay. Thank you. I need an uptime thing. I think I'm gonna actually go ahead and refill my coffee. So last stream, no, 2 streams ago. Gifted sub to Nikke. Oh, nice. I thought I recognized that llama. That's dope. You could probably, like, if you wanted to, get in on some of his customs. I don't know how that all works. So we can go to the How about now? Okay, cool. So I can use the eyeball. I can use the eyeball in the sources to mute and show, or mute and unmute my mic. That's good to know. Even though in the mixer, I'm still seeing the audio input. All right, to repeat myself, I'm gonna go get some coffee, get some water, use the restroom, and then continue on CSSing and HTMLing my heart out. I'll be back in 5 minutes. All right, we're coming back. Tables, it's actually chill speed. Probably need to, do I have a commands? Let's see. Missing some really important commands from that list. But we can go corgi speed, and then we can go chill speed. So we've got a fresh cup. Still too hot to drink. All right. Let's get back to coding, huh? I think I'm going to focus on the index, which I guess is really the case study card. Starting to get this styled out. Nope, I do need to check my Slack just to make sure no one from work is hitting me up. Nope, we're good. Yep, all good. So we need to do some type styles and maybe save some of these assets out. Let's start with some assets. So we can grab this, go over to our export panel, export this at 2x. And this is going to go in projects, All Turtles. Website, it's going to go in the images directory. And now let's see if we can get this rendered out. So that was the caret image. So we're going to go over to the caret MDX page. And this needs to be, I think it's images slash. And then from here, we've already got the source. Let's see if this works. Might need to restart the server for that one. And while that restarts, I'm just going to export the rest. I should be able to potentially, no. Okay. Can't do a bulk export just because of the way it's designed right now. Looks like the naming is wrong, so that's probably why it wasn't working. So tell us. This one also is going to be a PNG at 2x. Going with all lowercase. Disco. Curious about how this is going to work in the CSS just because each image is a different size. I wonder if some of the front matter is going to need maybe some positioning. We'll get to it. I'm getting ahead of myself. So, spot. Salty. Sift. I actually built the Sift site as well. Super cool site. Really enjoyed working on that. We can take a look at it because I am kind of proud of it. Just really big, vivid imagery. This was one of my first projects at the company. These are all interactive. Yeah, really enjoyed this build out. All right, back to exporting. It's interesting that this bounding rectangle here is not including quite everything. Let's see what happens when we export it. You have my commands in a profile for your Stream Deck? That's awesome. That's super cool. So you got Corgi speed, you got chill speed. Do you have Fireball 10 or Hadouken 10? Heal. I think there's heal 10. And these are all subject to change. I think like Hadouken and Fireball and Rainbow Fireball will stay the same, but the heal one is broken because it should be like this with the space, and it's not. A lot of scrappy, hard-coded values in that code. All right, got the case study images too. I mean, oops. Maybe I should export them too while we're here. These like hero images for each one. Naren, what's up? I always see you repping the InstaFluff. How long have you been subbed to InstaFluff? It's been a while since I checked out an InstaFluff stream. There was a time when I kept him on in the background. He's very soothing most of the time. Yeah, we'll come back to these images. Oh, you got gifted subs. Nice. Nice. Yeah, we'll come back to these hero images. Let's see if we can get just one image rendered out of the front matter. I think we need to rename the carrot one. Yeah. So this is not working. Let's see if we can figure out why. Yeah, it doesn't like that. Kind of forget what the best practice is for. Hey, Judo. How's it going? NASA launch canceled? I was actually talking to my brother about that earlier. Why was it canceled? What are you up to today, Judo? Lazy day for you? Nice. I'm well. I'd say I'm a little bit overwhelmed with all the work and the deadlines, partially self-imposed extra work, trying to stream the entire build out for the new All Turtles site. I'm definitely working slower than I would be if I was just not streaming. So really work on coding, but I don't know where to start by now. So where are you at in your coding journey? Okay, let's take a look at these images again. It is an awesome design, Aaron. I did not design it. I'm working with a very talented design team. So I'm just coding it. Nope, did not design any of it. The design level of design at All Turtles is very high. I'm lucky to be working with such talent. The illustrations really bring it to life. No, these are not open source images. These are all hand-drawn by Carlos. His first name is Carlos. I don't know his website. I could maybe try and pull it up. Let's see. Hey, Dr. Mikachu. I don't know if you're there, but thank you for the host. You're here. Awesome. It's been a minute since I caught your stream. Things kind of got pretty crazy for you, I think, recently with your game launch. It's been kind of hard to keep up with everything going on. Everyone's doing such awesome stuff. Aaron, I don't have an uptime, unfortunately. Uptime command. I need to get that going. So yeah, none of this site design is open source. This is all custom. From the illustrations to the design, everything. Judo, you did a 4-month boot camp as a web dev. Cool. You want to go front end, but I'm fairly overwhelmed. Kind of doubt I find a job with only that knowledge I have right now. Well, if you're interested in React, interested in Gatsby, definitely hang out here. Feel free to ask any questions. New Twitch UI shows how long it's been. 1 hour and 40 minutes. Yes, there we go. Yeah, the color palette is beautiful. So we're trying to get these images to display. You can see we've got images here, but they're all broken links. I believe there's something special I need to do in Gatsby to get these images sourced properly. I don't know if I need to like import them first. Like what if I hard code it, like import image from images / caret.png, and I think this will like tell Webpack what to do. Yeah, so importing it like this does work, but specifying the path is not quite working. I wonder what this comes out to in the compiled code. So it's static / but then we've got this hash here. And Webpack is generating this hash to bust the cache. So if this image updates, the cache gets busted for this asset. Judo, you saw my Figma explanation over at my colleagues. Is that Learn with Jason? Or where do you see that? Coffee, yes. I've just refilled my coffee. Just went on a coffee break. Make another cup. It's nowhere to feel overwhelmed. Do you have a portfolio? Yeah, I would love to see a portfolio. We can bring it up on stream if you want, if you're comfortable with that. You were in Jason's stream that day. Awesome. Yeah, Jason has a really special thing going on at Learn with Jason. I tuned into almost every one of those live, at least for some portion. I agree with what Dr. Mikuchu is saying here. Small projects. Try not to get stuck in tutorial hell and like just ship something, make something. It could be, scope it down. If you're starting to feel overwhelmed with whatever project you chose, cut scope and just get something shipped, get something live. I mean, even your portfolio or your own website, that could be your first project if that's what inspires you. And it could be, the most super simple bare bones site. You don't even have to tell anyone about it. Yeah, build easy stuff, simple stuff. Doesn't have to have a purpose. Just being able to say, hey, I made that. Go to this URL. I made that. Super valuable. And a confidence builder. Coffee command, Naren. What do you think a coffee command would do? I'm the same. I'm not interested unless it's a big, ambitious idea. Then to break it all down into tiny pieces. Yeah. Especially as you advance in your career and you're, a little bit more senior. I definitely relate to that. More Stream Deck buttons for new commands. Yes, well, maybe we can prioritize which ones are worthy of your Stream Deck. Yeah, tutorial hell is a real thing, definitely. Been struggling with that myself. What kind of tutorials have you been doing? Simple. A corgi would come on with boba, which is not coffee, but still a liquid that you ingest for a few seconds and then disappear. That would be cool. Been following the Kent testing series. That's something I want to do. My testing pretty much starts and stops at least with React, at Cypress. I've done tons of Cypress, love Cypress. Oh, look at that boba heart. Nice. All right. I might give up on the image for now. It's tough. Like when you're streaming, you feel pressured to keep progress going, keep all y'all out there engaged. I could definitely see myself falling down a rabbit hole where I stop talking and there is no progress with the whole image thing. I know Gatsby has an image component, probably comes with, yeah. Image is loaded using a use static query. So I've never used this component before, even though I have my personal site is a Gatsby site with tons of images. I just import it and let Webpack do the rest. There's probably some optimizations or performance things I'm missing out on. And this image is hard-coded here. This query is hard-coded. Could this be a prop? with this path. Would that work? I mean, we're here. Let's try it. I don't know if this is going to work. I feel like it's not going to work, but we'll give it a shot. So we're going to import this. Import, I guess they're calling it image from image. Let's see what happens. Yeah, can't parse. I don't think we can use, dynamic paths here or dynamic variables. That's okay. We'll come back to it. Maybe I'll do some research on my own. And then come at it tomorrow and kind of explain what I learned. But what we can do is type styling. So this is going to be our H2. It's called H3 in the design, but I don't see an H2 here. We've got H1. So this should really be an H2, not an H3. And that's fine. So we'll grab some styling here. We got bold weight, font size, line height. We're going to grab this. We're going to go to our type, and we're going to go over to our H2, our header 2, and paste this in. We actually want to keep the margin, we want to keep the font weight, but then add in our font size and our line height. And now our title is going to be an H2, which it already is. Perfect. So we should see this represented. Cool. So the font family is not yet coming in. I'm going to catch up on chat. So Judo says, currently I do a few courses online still since I have a limited premium access from my government to a site that has some interesting stuff. Cool. Psychology, design, awesome. So yeah, what I like to do is, this is not something I made up, but just-in-time learning. So like pick a project, something that is small enough that you're not overwhelmed, but still has some learning involved. Pick a project to ship. Maybe that's a personal site. Maybe that's a very simple personal site that's just a list of your socials. Like here, check this out. rwcode/socials/social. Yes. Or this is like so simple. Just a list of links with some very basic styling. This could live on its own. This could be your first iteration of your site. And this could be your first project, for example, and maybe there's something in here you need to learn, like how do I do a hover in CSS? And when you encounter that problem that is driven by the project needs, that's when you go to the tutorial. Learn that thing you need to learn in order to ship the thing you're trying to ship. And let that drive which tutorials you're watching rather than just picking, oh, I want to learn that and I want to learn that. And you'll just end up being in tutorial hell forever. And you might not even really learn some of the things that you're watching tutorials for. Because it's one thing to like watch a video and read. It's another to then execute on that knowledge under a different context that is not a demo or an example. Naren says, there's a stream tomorrow too. Yes, so this week has been kind of a special week for me. And by special, I mean stressful, but also awesome. I'm trying to do almost 100% of the development on this site live. And there is a deadline for the V1 of this site, which is Tuesday, 6 days from today. So in order to do that, in order to hit that deadline, and in order to also stream like 90% of the development, I'm going to need to be streaming a lot this week. Thank you, Dr. Mikuchu, for the luck, and it's good seeing you. I'm really glad you're hanging out. Learn to ship, directed focus. Yes, just-in-time learning, lots of coffee. I'm on cup 3. Probably still one more to go. Random thought, Dr. Mikachu, if you're still in the chat, you in your Discord pointed out or linked us to somebody doing pixel art. Would you mind linking that again in chat? Pixel art has been like a back burner interest of mine for a while, and I just don't want to forget about it. It's a really nice idea. I'll try that. I found a site that has easy, small front-end projects to rebuild as well. That could work. Just make it something that you are interested in, excited about. That can definitely help with motivation. Easy sort of CodePen clone. That doesn't sound easy to me, but cool nonetheless. Hey Jay, glad you're still hanging out. I'm creating a pixel art generator on Friday stream. Jay, you want to link your stream in chat? So does that take like an image, a high-res image, and turn it into pixel art? Would definitely love to check that out if I'm not also streaming myself, considering the deadline. But I'll definitely check out the VOD if I'm not there live. It was not easy at all. We almost cried. Yeah, that sounds about right. I think I would cry too if I had to make a CodePen clone. There's just so much going on there. You can resize the windows. You got syntax highlighting, on-the-fly parsing of code. There's probably security concerns. Dr. Mikachu says, shouting you on my Discord right now. Thank you so much. This is my kind of cousin Julia. She's been doing courses on retro adventure game pixel art. Yeah, when I tuned in, she was like looking at some classic pixel art and kind of critiquing it or pointing out things that make it awesome. I learned so much. It was dope. Does she do tutoring? Maybe this is really off topic and you might not be able to answer it, but I would definitely be willing to pay someone a considerable hourly rate to how the heck do I get started on pixel art? What program do I use? How do I set up my canvas? Can I do pixel art in Figma, or do I need Procreate or Adobe Illustrator? Can I do it with my mouse, or do I need a Wacom tablet? How do I even begin? I don't know. I just think it'd be so cool to make something simple, some simple sprite sheet from scratch. So this is not the one, not the stream I checked out before. It must have been Maple Mystery. Yes, I remember. Photoshop. Looks like she's working in Photoshop. Cool. Like here's where like you see my stream commands, right? That Hadouken pixel image I stole straight from Google. And like, what if I could make my own? Like, what if I could make my own fireball that is mine by hand from scratch? I just don't know where to start. Yeah, let me know what that name of that program is, Judo. All right, so we've got a very basic type style for the H2. What we don't have is the font. And the fonts, they're usually something I always copy and paste. So we're just going to bring up my personal site. It's pretty much examples for pretty much everything. So we're going to look for, I think it's font faces. I'm just going to copy this file right on over into my styles directory. There it is, styles, paste. And then the font family we are working with is Quasimodo, which I'm pretty sure is a paid font. I could be wrong on that. We're just going to get one of these working. And I had the font files. Let me just look through my downloads. Naren, 12 doesn't work. Well, maybe it'll just default to 10 if it's anything bigger than 10. Back when I made that, I was still streaming from my Mac. I've since upgraded to a streaming PC, but I just didn't want to get spammed, or I should say lagged out. So I'm just looking for the font files that my designer gave me. Judo, do you have a link to that? ProMotion. Yeah, feel free to check it all you want. Try and break it. Cool. Cool. Yeah. It's like, how do I go about choosing this software? Is it the same as any other? I don't know. I just like a pro to come in and be like, here's the lay of the land. Like, I could do that for UI design, right? We've got Figma. We've got Sketch, Illustrator, Photoshop, Affinity, Adobe XD. Right, and I could go through and say why I like each of these pieces of software, what they're good at, what they're not so good at, what my recommendation is. And because my time is so accounted for, I just can't figure this all out for myself. So if I could pay someone to tutor me for like 1 hour a week, I'm just bringing up my Notion. This is my really high-tech, organized list of links that I want to remember. Just Judo says, I found that program to do a streamer that does pixel art. Cool. If you remember the name of that streamer, I would definitely be interested to check them out. So we're bringing in fonts. We want this Quasimodo regular. I am noticing that these are all OTFs. And we want more than that, right? We don't even want OTF. We want TTF, WOOF, and WOOF2. So I actually have a handy program called Font Plop. We can link this. Font Plop. And what this does is it's just a Mac desktop app, and I can drag in. I think let's just make sure which weights do we care about here. My designer has been so kind as to include a type styles cheat sheet here. So we've got bold, normal, 300. I assume that's like a light. Let's see. Light. Normal, normal. Okay, so we have 3 weights that we're working with. We're working with regular, we're working with light, and bold. And now I can bring up my font plop, drag and drop these in, and you can see them just getting created here, converted into all the different file types in these nice folders. Okay, so now we've got the files. We need to get them into our project. Hey Lucas, I didn't even know you left. Didn't even know you were here, but I'm glad you are. How's it going? We're doing some HTML and some CSS, some Gatsby. Right now we are working on importing our font faces, defining our font faces. Stopped by to say, oh, I must have missed that. Sorry. Might have been AFK. How was your run? How far did you go? So let's see where I'm keeping them in source assets. I wonder if I'm doing any custom Gatsby stuff. I could literally write tutorials on like every step of this process. It's wild. Nothing in here about assets. Nothing in here either. I wonder if assets are like a special Gatsby thing. Source assets. Maybe that doesn't even matter. Let's just go for it and find out. So source, we're gonna make a new folder. Maybe it should live in static. I don't know. It worked in my website, so we're gonna go with it. Let's drag them on in. So we want woof2, woof, and TTF. I'm not a fan of the naming here. Get rid of this prefix. I don't know if this was the author or whatnot. So we'll drag them on in. So that's the regular weight. We're going to want to do the same for bold. Fix the naming. Drag it in. And then one last weight, which is going to be light. Exhilarating stuff. I got a question. You're using styled components and defining font faces in a simple CSS file. Don't the two conflict? Lucas is correct. You can use them together. I could be doing this in styled components. There's actually, months ago, there was a bug with styled components where it would like render differently or flash or something locally only if you loaded them with a styled components wrapper. And the workaround was to just use CSS. I haven't checked up on that issue. I don't know if it's fixed. It might be, but like it's so simple of a, I keep using that word simple, but for some people it might not be. It's a very small, tightly scoped piece of styling that I'm just going to go with the .css. And you can definitely use them all together as long as you have the right loaders. Yeah, you can define global style with styled components. There's like a global style component that you can import. Or maybe it's not component. I think it's a tagged literal, tag template literal function. We're actually doing that. We can take a look at that. In the type here, we have create global style. I'm going to export this and include it very high up in the component tree. All right. I feel like font plop could go on my site, like in my uses, if it's not already. Yeah, it's not there. So We could actually see if we can. We'll just copy and paste their copy. Make sure we quote it. Cool. I do feel like that's a lesser known app that comes in handy. All right, so we've got all of our font files in their various converted file types, GTF, WOOF, WOOF2. So now it's just a matter of bringing the right file names in. So just more like a manual labor, grunt work, I guess you could call it. So this is going to be regular. The local file, I'm not sure what that's going to be called. I'm going to just follow the same pattern. Oh, and that needs to be like this. And we'll just follow suit all the way down. I could probably do a find and replace here just to get started. And we're not doing medium. We are doing bold. Oops. Bold. Bold is usually what? Is it like 700? Heck, that took me a while. The pixel art person is called Nick Was. Hey, I appreciate you taking the time to figure that out. I'm just going to give them a follow real quick. Oh, wrong browser. Okay. So we've got regular, we got bold, and the last one we need to do is going to be light. And we'll do 300. And this is going to be normal. This is going to be bold. Great. So I'm hoping this works. Looks like it's not working. Not quite yet. I think that's because this is not being imported anywhere. I do like to just reference my past work if it's not ingrained in my head. I know I import font faces here, right in my like layout index. So we'll do the same thing. We don't actually need this CSS file. We're in components. We need to go up a level to styles. And hopefully this is working now. Can't resolve assets/fonts. Okay, that's because we have no fonts child directory. We can fix that real quick. New folder, fonts, and then we will drag these all in. Hey, Lone Wolf. Thanks for the follow. How's it going? How do you find the stream? And do I know you? Welcome. Welcome on in. Today we are, or I should say this week, we are working on a Gatsby site for work. This is paid work for my full-time job. But we took this site, we're going to take this site from scratch, from an empty repository into a fully responsive Gatsby site powered by MDX. So feel free to ask any questions. We've got probably another 30 to 60 minutes left for today's stream. Look at that. The fonts are coming in. That's awesome. Found out about you from your stream with Jason last week about Figma. That's awesome. So glad that you've made your way all the way to my personal channel. That was a really fun stream. Really enjoyed that. Hopefully, fingers crossed, Jason wants to do another one sometime in the future. Working on an egghead collection to cover some of the stuff that went on in that stream. So a more like concise version of the things we talked about, so that you don't have to, watch a whole 90 minutes to get all the knowledge that was talked about there. I think that's probably still a couple weeks out from being done, but it's in the works, planning it out. This week, though, at least on my stream, this week is not going to be much designing. The site that we are building out today was not designed by me, although it was designed in Figma, so we are going to be working in Figma, but we're going to be doing more coding than designing this week. Just taking a caffeination break. Water. I do have some water, Naren, you're right. I mean, coffee is mostly water, isn't it? Mostly a back-end dev, but I love learning and getting better at front-end and design. Cool. What kind of back-end work do you do? Yeah, I'm going to go on just a little bit of a soapbox here, but even back-end devs, even ones who may not even care about design, I would argue should probably have a portfolio or personal site or a blog. And you could totally use a template, and I would definitely encourage that as you're starting out. But as you grow in your career, it might make sense to add a personal touch. And design definitely plays a role in that. And I feel strongly that people with no artistic skill or even artistic interest can get a lot out of just spending a little bit of time learning about Figma or Sketch or any of these tools. Rails, APIs, and integration. Cool. My last job before my current job was a Rails app with a React front end. So it was the, I forget what it's called. It's like, there's like a Rails API version. Lone Wolf, can you remind me? There's some way to like initialize a new Rails app as an API only and not a server-side rendered web application. It's not Blitz. Hey, Chris, I see you. Rails new -- API. That's the one. I'm not familiar with Roar, Cynic. We don't drop a link to that. I have seen Blitz all over Twitter. Haven't tried it. Without all the views, exactly. My AirPods are dying. Gotta switch. Blitz Jackson's new framework. Yes, that's the one. Blitz Jackson, the robot, is he's deceased now, isn't he? On his way out. Probably shouldn't even use the he. I should probably use the it. Yep, second AirPods in. I finally broke down and bought a second pair. Curious about this roar. Probably a good thing not to know it. It's a ruby gem. Interesting. Rest in peace, Bliss Jackson. All right, we got fonts loading. That's a great time to commit. Do git status. We also added a bunch of image assets. Probably should have committed more than once here, but that's okay. So we're adding our font and image. We'll add some corgis in while we're waiting for that push to happen. Lots of static assets being pushed. Cool. Did you figure out what your netlify deploy issue was? Yes. Well, let me correct you there a little bit. It's Circle CI. I'm using Circle to deploy to a S3 bucket that was spun up by hand. That did bring up an idea I had, which was, would you consider being a guest on my stream to teach me how to turn my specific preferred AWS CDN, CloudFront CDN setup into code? I'm currently doing that all by hand every time, and it sucks. Like, I want the bucket policy to be the same every time. I want, static hosting setup. I want gzip by default, all this stuff. And if not, maybe there's some content in there for you. Anyways, the issue was a couple things. I'm glad you asked. I did talk about this briefly, my morning stream. The issue was, I was trying to deploy the dist folder, and I forgot that Gatsby uses the public folder as its build output directory. So it was a really simple change. Just change dist to public. Everything worked fine. While I was in there, though, we refactored the Circle config, and I don't know how many of y'all care about Circle when there's other things that are arguably easier, like Netlify, or all these like plug and play CI/CD things that exist now. But we're using Circle contexts, which lets us create environment variables that are at the organization level. So I could have an environment variable that's used on multiple projects, multiple repos. And that lets us create really dry deploy pipelines, or I guess I should call it jobs, or the steps in those jobs. As you can see here, I can just use YAML variables and refer to the same named environment variable, which this is living in Circle, the Circle config in the Circle UI. And then all we have to do is set the context. So when we are on branch staging, we're using this context. And when we are on branch master, which I have commented out because we're not ready to deploy to master yet, but I would set the context to prod. So yeah, that cleaned up my Circle config considerably. Everything is just in this YAML variable now, and it just gets reused across every environment. I made a quick repo for this, which we can look at, or I'll just link it again in case anyone uses Circle. Later, Naren. Terraform, yes. I would love to be walked through on Terraform. Thanks, Naren. Catch you later. So I just pushed the circle config to a repo. Could potentially write a blog post on it. It's not the most interesting thing to me, so maybe that'll never happen. All right, let's do a pull request. I would like to do a deploy with the new fonts. This doesn't really need to be there. This doesn't work. That's okay. Here's all the good stuff. Yeah, we're just going to do it. Do a deploy. Cool. We've got the title, we've got the description, all rendering out using the correct fonts. We could do some padding, margin, white space, whatever. So our title is going to have margin bottom of 12 pixels. And then our description, it's not creating a nice little box like I wish it would. All right, we're going to measure this by hand. It's like about 33, 34. Cool. And then each case study needs some margin. I'm just going to give it some margin. We can adjust this later. While we're in development, it'll make it easier. Oh, we could work on the hero. Let's do that. Because we can pull in the logo from the package. I do kind of forget what it's called. Let's just try it out. From All Turtles Components. Let's see if this works. Close. It might be called wordmark. Nope. Maybe I'll run that locally. So this is a NPM module that I wrote for internal use. It is open source. I have to sneeze. Excuse me. We have some storybook up and running. Looks like I need to deal with the dark mode. Okay, we got badge, copyright, logo, wordmark. It is called wordmark. So why wouldn't this be working? Oh, because I'm not using it, maybe? Yeah, there we go. Cool. If we go to docs mode, this is actually how I got introduced to MDX. Storybook docs mode. as an MDX story format that makes it really easy to write documentation for your components. Good thing, I always get motivated in the middle of the night, 11 p.m. I'll start my portfolio work now. You know, when motivation strikes, sometimes it's best to just execute, just go for it. Do you recommend learning vanilla.js, HTML, CSS before jumping into frameworks like React, Vue, etc.? Not necessarily. I've definitely seen Twitter influencers say that. I feel like it's not such a hard and fast rule as they like to tweet. I think that you could definitely just like start with React and be like, well, how does that work? And learn a little bit of vanilla JS or CSS or whatever, sparked by the curiosity of a React component. Like, where does JSX come from? Like, what's the history of JSX? You know, maybe you write one or two components following some tutorials, and that makes you ask some questions. And then those questions can lead you down a path of learning. If I were going to teach someone to code for the very first time, so not quite you, because you are a Rails dev and you understand, you know, basic programming principles like variables and types, functions. I would probably start them on vanilla, probably HTML and CSS specifically, and then add in some vanilla JavaScript before going into a framework like React. But because you have prior programming experience, I think it's kind of up to you. Like try a beginner React tutorial and see what happens. Yeah, I think that's my answer. Good question. Really good question. Judo says, that's how I learned it last time I coded before the bootcamp was like MySpace time with HTML. Good times. Those were good times. I miss those times. I find that CSS gives me the most trouble. It's difficult for me to wrap my head around how it works. Yeah, I think it just comes with time, repetition. You could definitely isolate CSS learning away from JavaScript, if that's something that's holding you back. You could, practice your CSS away from JavaScript, away from React, in like CodePen with just HTML and CSS, and try styling things or following tutorials. Strong HTML CSS knowledge is a big differential at work. Yeah, CSS is definitely one of my stronger suits. Y'all probably outshine me on the back end. CSS is the love of my coding life. Yeah, I'm kind of with you there. That's where I got started. Cool. So we can give this H1 some styling. It's just like our default H1s. It is going to be bold, but we're going to have a different font size and line height. I do need to worry about responsive type styling at some point. I should be using min width here. That's all right. How about some, we need some margin top. There is also one of these rotated rectangles, or clipped rectangles, I'll call it, at the top. So margin top of 114. That should probably be part of the hero, I think. So the word mark, we'll give that margin to the rectangle. I'm going to worry about the rotation later. So we're just going to give this a nice, easy height and width of 100 view width units. And we'll give it the, what is this background color? Fa. Let's add this to our colors. Export const off-white. Well, what is the designer calling it, if anything? Nothing. Okay. So I get to name this one. Woo. Fa. Height, width, margin. This should be good to go. Can you even see it? Did I give it? It should be background color. Oh, I didn't even give it the background color. Colors dot off white. Of course, we'll need to import colors from styles. I think it's because I'm a very visual person. Me too. I tend to lean towards front end and design. That being said, I have plenty of back end experience, especially with what I would consider the easier things like APIs, simple like CRUD operations. Lone Wolf says, I'm the opposite of just judo. Yeah. Most of my class was actually very good at back end stuff. I think I'm actually the only one doing front end. Interesting. Is this a personal project? No. This project is for work, for my full-time job at All Turtles. So All Turtles is what are they calling it? A mission-driven product studio. Essentially what we do is we partner with startups and help accelerate whatever stage they're at. Usually they're like early stage, like Series A, pre-Series A. I'll just link them. This is their current site, and then I'm working with a design team, the sole developer. However, this is going to be what we're moving towards. So we're moving away from the content hub that you see here and moving towards more of an agency feel, showcasing our work. APIs are okay for me because I see immediate results. Yeah. I think like simple CRUD is like not that hard when you're coming from some JavaScript experience, especially when you're working in Node. Firebase also makes backend really quick. Normally I do personal stuff on stream. So this week is a bit different for me, where I'm kind of mixing paid work with my stream, my content. So we've got this top like decorative rectangle. I'm noticing there's some styling, I think, that came with the Gatsby default, this kind of centering everything. I'm probably going to need to get rid of that at some point. I'm also noticing that this is not line wrapping where the design says it should. So we can fix that. Give it a max width. So we can see here it's 692 wide. So right now this is just a standard H1, but I'm going to actually change this to be a styled component. So we're going to change it to title, a styled component called title. Oops. And we're going to define that in our styles file. So we get a const called title, and this is going to be a styled H1. So it'll pick up all of our H1 default styles that we're setting in our type.js with this global style, which is a styled components function right here. So it'll pick all that up, but we want to add some extra styles onto the default, and that's going to be a max width of 692. So hopefully we get the wrapping now matching. There we go. It's now matching the design. In backend, I'm mostly scared about security issues. We learned nothing about how to secure sites. Yeah, I definitely learned a good amount about that when I was in school. More recently, though, I've been kind of offloading as much of the security holes as I can. For example, using a service for authentication, like Firebase Auth or AWS Cognito, or Netlify Auth or Auth0, so that I'm not having to like manage my own passwords and salting them and hashing them, etc. There's still plenty of other security issues that go far beyond authentication. Yeah, 4 months is not a lot of time. Like, I went to college, 4-year college, for this stuff. There's plenty of other stuff that wasn't coding as part of that schooling, but yeah. I haven't used Auth0 yet. I've heard good things. I've used lots of AWS Cognito, lots of Firebase Auth. I think next I'd want to learn Netlify Auth. I haven't touched Laravel yet either. It was so overwhelming. We never worked with that many files before. I can't really comment because I haven't used Laravel. All right, I think I need to sit down. So bear with me. We're going down. Yeah, I'm pretty much always standing. Fancy desk is right. It's worth it though. I'm in such a better mood. And I'll get like sore, like as if I worked out just from standing and working. So it's like a free workout. It's great. Electric Desk Club, that's right. So do you stand more than you sit in a day? Absolutely. Absolutely. If I'm working, let's say I work an 8-hour day, I'm probably standing 6 out of those 8 hours. Then I take like 30 to 60 minute sit breaks. Yeah, I love standing up on meetings. It just feels better. But eventually my legs get a little tired. Let's see. Standing desk, a good chair, a foot pad. I consider these essential. I think they're more important than lighting, more important than a good mic. A foot pad, yes. Let's see if I can bring up the one I have. I don't know if it's on my uses page. It should be if it's not. Need to add that. I'll grab a link though, one moment. This is the one I've got here. $100. But very worth it. Without this, my feet would ache. I couldn't stand nearly as long as I do. It's like a requirement. Yeah, I've got it in black. Let's see if we can show it. Oh yeah, we're doing it. That was interesting. Okay. We're back. Christian, I don't wear shoes. I wear socks. That's it. But you totally could if you wanted to. So I'm importing the logo, which is a logo variant, I guess, from the All Turtles package. And we're going to need some custom styling, so I'm going to wrap it in a styled component. And that's why it's called styled logo. And the element here is not going to be a styled.div. What we're going to do is we're going to pass in our custom component as a parameter to this styled function. And this will let us tack on extra styles. For example, we're probably going to want like a margin bottom. And to save the component file as well. Yeah, I definitely recommend it. You can get a standing desk for like 300 to 400, like an entry-level one. Mine was a bit more expensive than that. My standing desk is on my uses page, which I apparently don't have a command for. Now we're going to take some more notes. Content ideas, notes. I guess I can go in notes. So we need to add footpad to uses. We also need to add a uses command. Oop, I guess my headphones are not plugged in because you probably all heard that Slack message. It says they're connected. I'm just turning down my volume. I feel like my computer's maybe struggling a bit. My Mac specifically. Oh yeah, it's chugging. Not sure why. No, don't apologize. I'm happy to answer any questions anytime. That's why I do it. Makes it better, actually. To answer your question, though, do I have a regular stream schedule? I don't. I do think that'd be a good thing to implement. I guess I haven't made streaming a high enough priority to do that. I kind of just stream whenever I feel like it, whenever I think I can handle it. Lucas, thanks for joining in. Thanks for hanging out. Hope you have a good dinner, and thank you. So yeah, this week I'm streaming a ton. I think I'm at like almost 8 hours already this week, which is way more than usual. But prior to this, I took a 2-month break, so we'll see. I think I'm very active on Twitter. If you want to follow me on Twitter, very active in Discord too. This is not my Discord. This is just the Discord I am active in. Party Corgi Discord. So yeah, if I'm not streaming, I'm in one of these other places constantly. We'll see about a stream schedule. We'll see. The Discord. Yeah, that's kind of how I view it too. I'm in other Discords as well, and I appreciate them. But Party Corgi has a special place. Special place in my heart. So we've got our logo rendering. Looks like the styles are being applied as well. We do need to override the color. Looks like it's just straight up white. Cool. I'm not exactly sure. Maybe I coded in an easy override. Let's see. Because I don't really need these brackets. I did. Nice. All right, so I'm thinking about laying out this footer. This star here is not part of the design. I probably should have talked about that before. There's a bunch of stars. This just means that this copy is placeholder copy, as you can tell by the lorem ipsum. We also need the copyright, which I built a handy component for. Let's see. So we're going to have, I think, 2 wrapper divs. One for this left side content, one for this right side content. So the left side content is going to be this text and this copyright. So we'll do s.styled copyright. And then we're going to want a wrapper div. So I guess I'm just going to call this copy. And then the right side content, we'll call this social. I'm going to create these two wrappers. And then use display flex on the parent. So this is going to have display flex. Again, we're going to come back to these cutoff or masked rectangles, rotated rectangles, whatever they're going to end up being. I think I'm going to do a little bit of research on this off stream and then just kind of walk through whatever method I decide to go with. So it's going to be display flex, and we're going to need to add these two new components. And we call those copy and social. These are just wrappers. So our flex container, our flex div, the two top level children are just going to be copy and social. And then these will lay out their children on their own. So let's go ahead and see how that looks. I'm going to have to do a hard refresh because I did break it. Looks like I'm still breaking something. And that's probably the copyright here, styled copyright. So we'll make a component, a styled component called styled copyright, and this is going to be a styled component wrapper around another component. So it's not a standard HTML element like a div. And this is going to come from my custom package, the All Turtles components package, and this should fix it. Cool, we are rendering, and we've got our copyright, and we've got our display flex. So we can see this is laid out horizontally, at least the two children are. So let's fix some of the typography. Looks like we've got a type style here. Our designer gave us a type style called desktop/body1. I guess we can just grab that from the code panel. So it looks like it's a light font weight, a font size of 30, and a line height of 36. So she's calling that body1. We can just copy that naming. So I'm going to go ahead and open up the type file. And you can see we've got all of our headers here. I copied this in from my personal site, so that's kind of where some of this is coming from. We'll go with body 10. And it's not going to be medium, it's going to be light. So we're going to add in another font weight. We're not actually using medium in this site. So I'm going to go ahead and get rid of this and just replace it with bold for now. Cool. So we can get rid of that weight. We're just working with light, regular, and bold. Okay, so we're calling this body 10. I'm gonna come back to the responsive styling for this type style. For now, it's just gonna be the same in both places. So let's go ahead and implement this here, and this is gonna be the P tag, right? I think I just use a standard P, so I'm gonna actually change this to a styled component. We'll just call it description for now. And then I'm going to go back to our styles, create a new styled component, description, and this is going to be a styled P tag. And what we're going to do is bring in type.body10. Make sure that's being imported, so it's not, so we need to add that to our imports. So we're importing all of the type styles, and we're applying body 10 to the description. Check that out. Cool. So now it's the right font size. It's the right line height. It's not yet the right color. Looks like it is white, full opacity. Cool. So we can give that a color. Colors.white. Nice. And then it does have a max width of 500. Max width 500. Great, we're getting there. Got a margin bottom of 28 pixels. Nice. Maybe we'll give some padding. This might change when we implement the clip path. But for now, give it a little breathing room. The AT logo here is a little bigger in the design. We got a width of 68. So we can width 68 and a height of 52. Global corgi emote, yes. There is, but there is also the party corgi. And there is also the Jay Lang's party corgi, which are better, in my opinion. All right. We got the logo being sized properly. I only have party hair. That's dope. I think this is a good place to start winding down. I'm getting a little tired. Kind of want to zone out on some Fortnite. So we're going to do a commit. We did some footer styling. Push that up. All right. Let's wrap it up. So thanks y'all for hanging out. It's been a long day. Jay says, I'm hitting the Warzone. I've been watching Warzone on stream. Doc's been playing it a lot. It does look fun. I don't know that I can handle a second game at the moment. I'm pretty committed to Fortnite, but I appreciate it. What do you usually do when the designs don't have values for margins, padding? So with Figma, we can jump back just real quick. I think this is a good question. In Figma, you can hold Command on a Mac and get these pixel values. So let's take a look at here, for example. We've got this copy, right? And there's some white space in between this copy. I'll zoom on in. And this copyright. So now I'm holding Command. No, it's Option, not Command. Sorry. I'm holding Option, and you can see this 28 popping up. So it's giving us our padding, our margin, white space values that we're looking for. And if for some reason I don't have this available to me, what I like to do is just, I know there's tools for this, so this is pretty low tech, but if you use Command Shift 4 as if you're going to take a screenshot, it gives you values as you're dragging. You can kind of see the 54 and the 31 there. I think there are tools for this. What's it called? Like Xscope. Yeah, I used to have this, and I think my license expired or something. This is like the proper way of taking measurements. It has a lot more features. Rulers, you can put rulers overlaid on top of your screen. Looks like it has a mirror app for iOS and Apple Watch, crosshairs, guides, etc., etc. So this is what I'd recommend if you're getting serious about it. But for the most part, Figma's built-in tools handle it for me. Definitely recommend getting a Mac if you're getting into development. Not a requirement. I started out on Windows. Got kind of lucky that my second job bought me a Mac. You're welcome, Lone Wolf. Very welcome. So we got a lot done today. Still a lot more to do to get this site done by Tuesday. I might have to do some work off stream just to make sure I can hit that deadline. If I do, I'll definitely summarize it and go over it at the beginning of the next stream. So thanks for tuning in, and I'll be streaming again probably every day this week. Catch you later. Bye, Dr. Mikachu.